We're excited for season 2 of House of the Dragon, but there's some signs we saw in the trailer, as well as some leaks that have us worried that the series is heading closer to Rings of Power than what we got in season 1 of House of the Dragon.
Yeah, it makes us a little bit nervous. And like, dude, don't get me wrong. Like, a lot about this trailer like got me psyched. Like, dude, I cannot wait to see my shiny, beautiful, sculpted, chiseled golden boy, Aegon II, the one true king, looking down on all the disgusting people living in King's Landing, like the underlings, dude. No, if you're on Team Common Folk, please unsubscribe. We're going to go into a lot of this stuff, but there's some stuff that relates to book spoilers. So we're not going to go into that until later, but it's probably one of the biggest issues we have. And we'll go into it at the end, but there's other issues too.
Yeah, there's a leak that we have that is a complete change from the books, but yeah, we'll let you know later on. So if you want to stay tuned. Overall, this trailer, right? I enjoyed this trailer, but I think a lot of the shots we got from this trailer, along with like the Team Green and Team Black versions of the previous trailer, are all going to be from the first half of season 2. That's something we got from, I believe, in House of Dragon season 1. Like, a lot of them were the younger shots. We didn't really see the older versions of them. Or if we did, it was just like momentarily, but you didn't really see King V in his like gross state, maybe just for like a single shot, but we don't even know who that is. So I think there's a lot of mystery that we're going to be seeing, hopefully unveil. And based off of what we know from the books, I do believe a lot of these shots are going to be from like the first 4 episodes, which is the first half of season 1. Or excuse me, season 2 of House of Dragon.
I mean, it depends on how much they draw this stuff out, because to my knowledge, we don't know exactly how much of the story they're going to be covering in season 2. But to me, you could be right. This could be in the first like 4 or 5 episodes or whatever, the first half. And I would expect that based on the pacing of the first season. But if they decide to go with a little bit more Game of Thrones-esque pace, which honestly I hope they do, because that's like a huge, dude, for me, one of the only flaws with season 1 of House of the Dragon, I've mentioned this a million times, is the pacing. I think they could have drawn that out into 3 seasons, and I would have been totally cool with it. Really sit with those characters. But if they are not dragging it out and we are just seeing shots from the first half, that gets me excited, because that tells me that they really have some cool stuff saved for the end, and I'm fine with that. Like, Fire and Blood, it's not a very detailed book. They don't go into a ton of stuff. They give us the summaries and some details from 2 perspectives, which is very interesting to do. And I guess I'm not sure if the show is supposed to be like this bird's eye view of like what actually happened versus these accounts from the books. I'm okay with them adding things, of course, and adding depth to these characters, but some of those things are what we're talking about in this trailer that just have me a little bit nervous.
Yeah, like one of the things, which isn't spoiling because we've seen it now in the trailer, but Cregan Stark and Jace go up to the wall.
Yeah.
That's something we don't get in the books, or at least is not a detail given to us. It sounds like the whole time while Jace is there, he's in Winterfell, or at least with his time there, it's not going around all of the edges of of the north.
Yeah, the north.
Yeah, that's something new we're seeing. I really wish we could see Old Town. I don't think we got any teaser shots. Let us know in the comments. First off, let us know in the comments. What do you think about this trailer? Second, did you see a shot of Old Town? Because I don't know whose D I need to S to get my beautiful high tower, lighthouse in Old Town.
Shiny, phallic, like symbol. The dominant thing in Westeros. Like, are you kidding me? We've never seen it. I mean, we saw it in Game of Thrones, right?
Yes, we
but
did.
Barely. It was like it
was just Sam sees it for a second. He's like, oh, so
right,
beautiful.
that's it.
Shut up, Sam. You're ruining the scene for me.
Oh, guess what? The one thing he's ever said that's based as hell, which it is beautiful, and I want to see way more of it. It's the same with the Westerlands too, man. Like Casterly Rock. We don't see any of Casterly Rock, really, and we don't see any of Old Town at all, or the High Towers. These are supposed to be like some of the biggest, most rich places. But to us, as the viewers of like only the show, if you were to be one of those people that never read the books or anything, you might think that King's Landing is like the biggest and most rich place in the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah,
which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, Old Town is like better in literally every other way than King's Landing. It has like a historical validity to that, and you also have like the institutions there, the Maesters, as well as the Citadel, and also the Starry Sept of the Faith of the Seven is there. So like some of the old institutions are homed in Old Town. So it's just so powerful and clean compared to King's Landing that I'm just like, I'd rather be in Old Town. Gun to my head, yeah, I'm going to Old Town every time. I don't know if that's even a...
Oh, dude, absolutely. It's clean. But, dude, it's clean. They actually have their streets. It's like a higher class place, and it's richer, so you'll kind of get that inherently, but it's like, I don't know. It's pathetic that King's Landing is not a similar place, and I want to see it. I want to see Old Town. Give us Old Town.
Yeah, but it has to serve the story, right? So I just don't want to go to different places. Like in the books, we do, Jace does go to the north, right? And that's not like an Easter egg, like, oh, cool, he's going up to Winterfell. Do you guys remember Winterfell? How cool that is? Just like the dagger in this series isn't in Fire and Blood, right? So this is a show only like having the dagger in here is show only, and then the prophecy on top of
Dude,
it is
so cringe.
show only. It's just forcing references to Game of Thrones. So that's like one thing that right there, which we also get a hint later. We see 3 eggs. I'm not going to spoil anything, but those 3 eggs might be indicating those might be the 3 eggs that Dany gets later on in a Game of Thrones. So like.
I mean, they do. The book does go. Fire and Blood does tell us the origin of those eggs, but yeah, we don't need to see it at this point. It's not relevant to this right now.
I know. Focus on other things. You only have limited amount of time. I don't know if people are really caring about. So what happens? Are the dragon eggs still there? It's like, yeah, you can show that like towards the very end. I don't know if you need to show it in season 2.
Honestly, man, pretty much nothing is going to be as bad, I don't think, as the prophecy thing at the end. I'm rewatching House of the Dragon season 1 right now, just because season 2 is coming up. And I want to be refreshed on the show version of things. I read Fire and Blood again more recently than I watched the show again. And, dude, it's so weird when Viserys talks about naming Rhaenyra heir or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, no, Rhaenyra, you don't understand. The true purpose of Targaryens conquering Westeros was actually Aegon didn't give a shit about the land. It wasn't right for the conquering. It was a vision he had about the White Walkers and skeletons and demons. Like, no, bullshit it was. Why is it etched in this dagger, too? Like, who made this? It's total nonsense. Well, if we go up to the wall and we see some... Hold on. Go ahead. I'll say the wall thing after you're done.
Well, there's confusion, too, because of before, Viserys becomes king, there was a succession crisis of... Aenys, or as you call him, Aenys, to his son.
Aenys Targaryen.
Maegor kills, basically Maegor steps in there, and if he forcefully steps in the line of succession, then there's not someone's going to be like, okay, I know you killed the next person in line, so I'm going to give you actually what... the lowdown of, like, here's this prophecy. How was this rediscovered? Was Jaehaerys just, like, playing with his knife too close to the fire? He's like, what the hell is this? Holy shit. There's a or was it Viserys? I don't know. Like, there's questions to this. And then on top of it, this dagger then has to be lost and then rediscovered by, what is it, Littlefinger and Tyrion basically exchange it later on?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's when we see it.
Right.
Maybe it's had other people that knew about the prophecy before, but they don't know about it clearly, like what it says.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so it's something. Anyways, it becomes there's more questions I have about this whole thing than I feel satisfied. Like, oh, I remember Fire Ice story from Game of Thrones. Don't remind me of Game of Thrones. Just do your own thing, and then I can think of this as like the cool, awesome story that we got that was complete. And Game of Thrones was an experiment we had within Westeros that gave us a taste, but eventually did not deliver on the end product that we wanted.
Oh, spit it out. It's like I can't even imagine. It's like going to Willy Wonka's factory or some shit, right? Like you taste like, oh, that's pretty good. It's like, Way. Oh.
Yeah, Willy Wonka candy, right? Where it's super delicious at first, and then you want to vomit for 3 hours straight afterwards. Can we make that
genius marketing item? It's gonna fly off the shelves. Dude, if they went to the wall in season 2, and it was literally just background noise that we saw, and it's pure negotiation, like politicking the whole time. Otherwise, I'd be totally cool with that. But I would say there's about a 0% chance of that happening, and about a 100% chance of like shoehorning in some supernatural shit that we don't care about.
I mean,
that's like
I don't mind.
I mean, right?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I don't mind supernatural things like dragon visions and all these magical elements that Dan and Dave really kind of tampered or tampered
fetishes.
down. Yeah. Oh, fetishes. Of course, we got the foot. Let's get some more in here, please.
We'll get there. Well, with the shepherd. Spoiler alert. We'll get one later.
Yeah, he's into something. But I don't mind if, well, that's the thing you were saying too, because, if we just go to Winterfell, I want to go, and I know we're going to bounce around just a couple places, but I liked in Game of Thrones that we were able to pick up storylines that were literally everywhere between Westeros and, parts of Essos. I wish they did that more here. I know a lot of it's going to be centrally located just based off the conflict of, kind of the Riverlands, and then King's Land, the Crownlands, Riverlands area. That's where a lot of the stuff's going to be happening because if people don't know, Dragonstone is like spitting distance from King's Landing. So for this conflict to be happening, it's like I don't know if people know U.S. geography, but it'd be like if New York and what would be another one, like New York, New Jersey. I'm trying to think of the actual distance of it, but it's like pretty close on the like coastal.
Think about think about when in Zack Snyder's Batman vs Superman, when like for the first time on screen they like visualize how close the Gotham and Metropolis are, which I hate, by the way, but
yeah,
it's like you can wave, can wave and see it as a human person, not a Superman with enhanced vision. Like, yeah, that's a hot war for sure.
Well, so one thing I'm worried about that we saw in this trailer, And I'm telling myself, like, this is only going to be the first half of what we're seeing right now, and maybe a lot of these scenes are, getting people reintroduced to these characters, so we're kind of hitting the beats again. I really hope they're able to develop Rhaenyra, and I think the story of... I really feel like they're pushing a lot on Rhaenyra. Like, she's like the main character, mostly because she like kind of aligns with like the Dany archetype of I'm coming to reclaim my throne. I'm a Targaryen. They even let them have their standard Targaryen symbol, which is so dumb. Like, why? In the books, they have two different sigils. They have the quartered one that Team Black uses, which incorporates the Aarons and the Velaryons and the two Targaryens, whatever, which is to like, okay, cool. We're not just standard Targaryens. We're the Targaryens that have aligned ourselves with this side. And it represents her marriage and her family. And then Aegon's is yellow and black, and they're called the Greens. And it's kind of confusing to normies. It
looks awesome.
And it looks great. I wish they went with that. But in this show, they're like, oh, we're going to give Rhaenyra just the standard Targaryen one. So it gives her more legitimacy than she has in the books. Well, that being said,
I see Rhaenyra good guy, Team Green bad guy. I see green on logo. I see green. I see bad.
That's not right. It's supposed to be red and black. And you're like, okay, cool.
Uh-oh. I hear the music. I hear the Humpty Dumpty bad guy music. I hate the Greens.
I know. That's the normies watching the show. And that's the whole reason why, like, I'm going to go into later what some of the changes they made for the normies. But, yeah, the storyline for Rhaenyra, I'm just worried that she's not going to maybe have... that she's going to feel like she's just going around saying, like, no, stop. These men are trying to get us into conflicts, and I really just want to make this all peaceful, but they're just, forcing my hand, or I'm being... If she's being reactionary to everyone else's actions, I'm going to be pissed. I want her to be proactive. I want to be an active character. I want her to make decisions. I want her to succeed. I want her to fail. I want her to grow and her motivations to change over time and see her develop. I'm just...
Oh, dude. Not just her motivations growing either, by the way.
Oh, dude. Well, that waistline. Yeah.
That waistline, baby. Get that thing to like a 52.
Dude, at the least. Come on.
Dude, the Iron Throne's got to be bent. Like, those swords have got to be... The structural integrity is going to be compromised. They got to beef that thing up after she sits on the throne.
Cyrax would rather just... Cyrax would rather go back into, like, a volcano at Old Valyria than let Rhaenyra ride on...
Dude, poor Cyrax. Right on hypothyroidism, Rhaenyra. No, but, dude, I completely agree with you, man. I want to see Rhaenyra actually be proactive and assertive and instigate these conflicts, because if she really feels scorned, like the throne was taken from her, which is, it seems like that's the way they're going. And that's what's confusing about the trailer, too. She has that mentality, like, they took everything from me. Now I'm going to get them back. But then at the same time, yeah, we kind of see this weird, dodgy thing, like you said, the women are being forced into like men's conflict, and you see this weird thing with Daemon too about how he's like maybe not accepting her as queen, which we'll go into I think in a little bit because that's not right either.
Yeah.
At least I don't think. I mean, again, this is something they could add and it wouldn't necessarily be wrong, but I'm not a fan of it if it's how I think it's being presented here. And the same is true with Otto and Alicent. If I'm not sure if I like this whole narrative of like Alicent having these like soft feelings for Rhaenyra, and it's like she's almost like the voice of reason pushing back against like the bloodthirsty warmonger Otto.
Yeah.
It's much better if these two are both like strategic about maintaining power and also caring about their family in this position, and then not really caring about Rhaenyra because it's not their family, versus this weird like Tweedledee and Tweedle dump truck thing they got going on right now, where Otto just seems like an idiot. An idiot. Just like, I'm going to start every war I can and just kind of play this. I sound smart, but I'm really just making all the wrong decisions. And then Alicent, just sitting over there with her thickness, like crying about Rhaenyra. Sorry, I'm rambling, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. I like your Alan Rickman version of Otto Hightower. Alicent, we have to do it this way. No, I totally agree. I want to see...
It's true.
They can go in different directions. So, like, that's one thing I'm worried about, the Black Council versus the Green Council. It seems like the Black Council is all on the same page, maybe a little bit. So I really want to see, like, the different directions they're pulling Rhaenyra, and not just so blatant black and white, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, this is the way we should be doing it, and this other person is going to be basically a devil and angel on her shoulder. It's like, which way do I go? I don't know. I want there to be almost like three different directions. One, pulling, like maybe Corlys is pulling her somewhere, Daemon is pulling her somewhere, and then maybe even Jace is a voice in her ear, or Rhaenys is pulling her another direction, right? Like I want her to be conflicted and not just be so straightforward of like, do we do the good thing or the bad thing? I don't know. It's like, come on, no. the show needs to be more gray.
It does. Well, the way it seems though too, it's like, yeah, she's being pulled in all these directions, but she secretly knows like the correct noble way the whole time, and it's more about like all these characters in their own way, like keeping her from doing the noble correct thing that she knows the whole time is what the right thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She knows what the correct course of action is, and the one, by the way, that's like the most like merciful, right? She knows it. But all these people in her life are influencing her to do it these other ways. So that's why it's going to be imperfect, and that's ultimately going to lead to her destruction. And
yeah,
it just seems that way. You want to talk about the Daemon thing?
Well, real quick, what is Rhaenyra's goal in this? My understanding, her goal is not just, well, I know she wants to rule and be queen, but her goal is to keep the kingdom together for this prophecy, right? Is that not what her kind of intention is? Like, we got to keep the kingdom. Like,
apparently,
in this trailer, she's like, you also are protector of the realm, so you have to. That's the end goal. Is like keep the kingdom together. That way, we are united against a threat that this the invisible ink dagger has this prophecy that I inherently believe.
It's like the One Ring.
Which, I mean, if you really believe this, wouldn't you try to be like, hey, listen, Aegon, sit down with me, boyo. Put that dagger in the fire. You know, see what it says there. Like, pull him aside. Why wouldn't she, like, bring him in like that?
Send a raven. Like, hey, call a raven. Send it to King's Landing. Give this to Aegon. It's like, hey, you know that sweet dagger that Dad left and it's down hanging out by Balerian's big fat head, you know? It's like, just dip it into the fire. I know it sounds crazy. It's not going to hurt it. And then read it. Like, what's he going to say? No? Like, I guess he could, but why wouldn't he do it?
But, like, this just sucks, too, because Daemon now knows about the prophecy, and he, like, immediately, started choking Rhaenyra because he's like, shut the fuck up. This is the dumbest plot point in this whole entire series. Stop talking about this. You're ruining this series.
Meta.
Yeah. Literally the fans coming in. Yeah, he's the only one that knows about it. But if there was somebody else, like a maester, somehow knew about it, then he could, like, counsel Rhaenyra, being like, listen, why don't you do that? And then we could see Rhaenyra actually explain herself, or, try to explain it, and we'd actually get some characterization of her saying, like, yeah, you can clearly tell she's taking that into consideration, but then is acting on impulse and emotion rather than the logical, altruistic version that she should be. And then maybe she's flawed because if she really cared about the kingdom, she would go that direction, but she doesn't. She's going her own personal way, right? Otherwise, it seems kind of sloppy.
Well, that's what I 100% agree with that. And the prophecy coming in, I know that they're trying to make her character have more depth because she knows about this thing and it's like this greater purpose. But Book Rhaenyra, spoiler alert, she is only basically scorned by these people taking her, still, but I don't know if it's a usurping. What do you call it? Like, just by taking the airship out from underneath her,
right? Yeah.
In the opportune moment when she wasn't there. That's what it's about. And guess what? That is good enough motivation to start a war, especially in these times. Like in Game of Thrones, we watched how many conflicts happen over relatively small things, right? Like, I don't know why no one cared back then, but now you want to go this big grandeur, like super fantasy style thing. It's just so unnecessary to do. I don't think it actually adds depth to Rhaenyra. I think it takes it away because, like you say, now we can't spend as much time with who she really is. We have to always think about this other thing in the background now too. It's just, yeah, I think that's overall a really, really bad move. I want to see Rhaenyra pure, aggressive, vengeful, and that is not a one-dimensional character. That's impactful enough. I really do think so.
Yeah, pushing 5 bills at the very least, right?
5 bills.
That would be okay.
Goddamn, man. Rhaenyra hungry. Feed me, Daemon.
So you were saying that the Daemon stuff. She has this line in the trailer to Daemon where it's like, do you accept me as your queen and ruler? Like, that reminds me, like, Tywin would chew her up and spit her out. Like, why would you even say that? Like, you have no power over your council, your people around you, if you have to say something like that, Like, that's not a true
she's
ruler.
crying, too. She's like begging for it. It's like, hey, Daemon, did you forget who you're talking to? Like, I'm your queen, motherfucker. It's like...
Oh, even that. It's like that.
I know Daemon...
Does a true ruler need to claim or state that they're king or queen again? Like, yeah, it's Tywin, right? It's like, no, dude. Rhaenyra, you need to be commanding respect. Like, you say something like, Daemon, listen to me. You're not doing that. Do it again, and we'll see what happens or something,
Yeah. Like, if she has to tell him, be like, hey, like, Kingsguard, get this guy out of my sight.
Right.
Like, manhandle this guy. Because Daemon is a feisty boy. And in the comic, in the book, he, at least to I don't remember him ever having this weird rebellion against Rhaenyra. He does go off and do his own thing a lot of the time, and he kind of takes his little corner of the war into his own hands. But it's long after the point where, it's been going on for quite a while, and Rhaenyra's doing her own thing and Daemon's doing his own thing. They're still together and everything. So it's really strange. I'm not sure why they would add that plot point in too. It's almost, again, like they really feel like they need to drive home that Team Black, or like certain aspects of it, are the good guys, right? Because Daemon is the one wild card, quote unquote, bad guy they've been basically, telegraphing since the beginning of season 1. Like, they made Daemon a way worse guy in the show than he is in the book, or at least his actions are basically the same, but his little aura they frame around him is or the aura they place around him is way more negative. Yeah, like, they make him seem kind of like a Megor-esque guy, right?
Yeah, he's way more of a stinker, especially to his brother in season 1 than he is in the books.
He's a shitster.
Yeah, he is a shitster. But Daemon has a good line in the trailer that I like, is the realm's only hope is in a leader that's strong enough to unite it. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what we need. And it's funny that we follow up that line with Rhaenyra being like, do you accept me as your queen? It's like, yeah.
Please.
I'm giving you a hint. And I don't remember where I heard this from, but it would be interesting if Daemon came in and was like, listen, let me be king. People will rally around, my testicles, because that's, what we value the most in Westeros. So they'll rally around my testicles, and then we'll make my boys, Aegon the Third and Viserys the Second, the new heirs, and you can still be queen, but let's do that instead of this weird, like, everyone clearly knows those kids are not yours, or they're not Laenor's, right? They're strong boys.
Yeah, they're very strong boys. I mean, honestly, dude, you can give Jace another seat, like somewhere else, another high seat. If he wants to. Like, he could take Driftmark or whatever, right? It's just such a pride thing, Or let Jace go live with his boyfriend up north in Winterfell. Him and Cregan Stark can ride off into the snow set together, D and A.
Yeah. Corlys would be the only person that'd be poo-pooing that thing, because he wants his name, that even though Jace is clearly not his, he's like, Jace Velaryon will be the heir, the king, eventually. Like, I want that badly, please. And if Daemon came in there and circumvented him, he'd be pissed.
Yeah, circumcised him. That's what I was going to say, too. Dude, I agree about Corlys. But before we forget, because I don't want to talk about Daemon probably much more here until the very end. Daemon looks so good. The armor that they have him in is so amazing. Oh, man, there's a shot we get later, and I think he's on Dragonback. I'd have to watch it again. But his armor isn't so dark. It's like a gunmetal-looking color. Dude, it looks absolutely amazing. I know Matt Smith's not a very big guy, but that armor beefs him up in all the right ways. Looks great. Looks so good.
I think all of the armor looks good. I think some people were kind of poo-pooing Aegon's armor. I love his helmet with the crown on because, incorporate the crown. It looks awesome. I think they have, old... I love, the art of... Is it Richard III, the Lionheart? Or is it Richard the First Lionheart? Anyways, the Lionheart. He has, the cool helmet with the golden crown on it. It just looks so cool in, medieval times. So they're able to incorporate that with Aegon's dragonback armor. I mean... Aegon's armor looks so good. I wish he would never take it off.
I wish somehow you could I know it sounds crazy, but what if you could just fasten it to his body and keep it there forever? It's not that he won't take it off; it's that he can't take it off. What if it was like that?
That'd be ideal. That's my ideal state of Aegon. And
I know it's not the best situation for Aegon, but dude, listen, aesthetically, he's winning. Yeah, he looks great.
Well, going through, you go through the trailer. It definitely looks like Aegon's getting a lot more character development, which I'm glad, because in season 1, he's literally just a grapist that everyone looks at him as, is like, oh yeah, you're having you're jerking off into windows, you're having sex with maids, you're creating you're the Michael Vick of children in Flea Bottom, even though Daemon is called Lord of Flea Bottom, and we don't really see any of his stinker bingus actions down there.
Well, he's on that retention grind set, so he didn't father any bastards down there. Watch our Daemon video. We go into why exactly Daemon is a Giga Chad in Westeros, because we're not very fond of Team Black in general. We think they get the shaft in the show especially, but Daemon's kind of the exception to that. But dude, yeah, Aegon, it's they built him up to be such a negative character. They're just making him seem so evil for no reason. Him and Otto both, and Aemond. Aemond is the evil version of Daemon, and Daemon's not even good to begin with. What a strange thing. How do you jerking off in the window? They make him seem like he doesn't give two shits about anything. He only wants to grape and pillage.
And then like if you read Fire and Blood, Aegon does not come across as that. If anything, comes across as a guy that is like Robert Baratheon, who just like wants to like spread his seed everywhere. Which, I mean, doing out the window is more realistic to his character in the book than what him doing that to like the maid and other people unwillingly.
Yeah, like forcing himself, right? That's not right.
He seems like more of a playboy. He's the prince of King's, prince of the throne in King's Landing. So of course he's going to have some sway with the ladies. I don't like the way they depicted him in season 1. It looks like we're getting more development from him in here. I like that. He looks like he's playing with that dagger a lot, which is funny. He's pointing people with it. He's like, "What do you think?" I kind of want Aegon. Okay, this is my wish list. I want Aegon to speak in the third person, like the Jimmy from Seinfeld. Like, Aegon really doesn't like that. Somebody needs to talk in third person.
Well, if it doesn't happen in season 2, when's it going to happen? They have to introduce it. They're running out of time.
And then last thing I want to say about like kind of Aegon in general, his beautiful his beautiful sunfire dragon.
Oh.
I wish it was more shiny. It should just be like gold and just like, oh my, is that a second sun? Oh no, that's just a beautiful golden boy in the sky.
You say so second
beautiful.
son?
Oh yeah.
Aemond, speaking of second sons, well, hard agree on the Sunfire. I was looking forward to Sunfire, and the color is cool. It should be way shinier. It's difficult in these shows to make a unique looking dragon, and Sunfire is supposed to be very like beautiful compared to other dragons. But how do you do that other than with colors of these things? Because you can't give it a weird shape, otherwise it looks it's going to look strange. So you have to do it with color, and I think they kind of failed on that front to make him look so uniquely beautiful to be titled of like the most beautiful dragon to ever exist, right? But Aemond, the second son boy, listen, man, this trailer did not do him any favors. How cringe is it to refer to your mother by their first name?
Oh, I know.
That is so cringe. Allison's too weak, whatever. Dude, shut the hell. You trying to like convince people that she's not your mom? Like, you trying to like avoid being a trust fund baby like Hassan Piker? Like, is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah.
How weird is that?
Is this Aemond trying to be like, oh, I don't know if Kristen Cole remembers who my mom is, so I better just address her by her first name instead of saying like, the queen or my mother. Of course, yeah, Alicent. Yeah, that's cringe. And I think Aemond, biggest step down from this trailer. We see him like laying on the legs of a woman, I'm pretty sure, and I think people are speculating is potentially that MILF,
probably
the MILF from Flea Bottom. Well, people are suspecting it might be the flea from, or excuse me, the
flea
MILF from
Mucha Lucha. Dude,
what a reference! No, the MILF from Flea Bottom that we see in episode 9 from last season, because she's like, I remember you, kind of like she gives him those eyes, right? And I just. I really hope they don't make Aemond into a like Homelander-esque character. He's like,
I was just gonna say that
mommy issues. It's like, oh, dude, just stop. We don't need that. Also, do we also need these characters to always be like sexual beings? Like until the end of Tywin's life, we never saw him in any sort of sexual setting. Even that, we didn't see him in a sexual setting. We just saw her, Shay in his bed. And we just presume there's some sex going on there, right? But Tywin was very like asexual, like never. Again, we never got a POV of him for him to even think about it. For all we know, he's getting off to the thought of being in every sexual interaction that Tyrion had for whatever.
No, dude, reason. I think Tywin only had sex 3 times in his life. Not 3 times. It'd be twice, I guess, for his kids. But I actually think with his wife that he conceived, Jaime and Cersei and Tyrion,
right? Twins. Yep.
Yeah, twins. So he had sex at least twice. I think he actually had a ton of sex with her, and it was great, and it was emotional, and it was beautiful because they're in a loving relationship. After that, never again. It was only humiliation to Shay, like bring her in there, strip her naked, basically say, you're never touching my boy Tyrion again. And then he went and laid the most pristine dump anybody ever has. Like just unbelievably heavy, like Pringles can. It'd be so impressive if anybody saw, but no one will, and it's Tyrion's fault.
Well, yeah. So that's my ideal version of Tywin, right? That he never wanted to touch Shay.
I mean, yeah.
Headcanon, right?
I don't think he did.
But like Larry Strong isn't like there's never indication of his foot fetish in Fire and Blood. That's show added, right? We didn't need that. I like Larry's being more of like a Littlefinger like character where we clearly see his motivation is for more power, but to what end and to what means, right? So like what does he want, right? And how's he gonna get there? Does he take any pleasure in all of this? Like I like that more. And we just learned it's just feet. Like, come on. I mean, I got feet, Greg. Can you jerk off to these?
Can you milk my toes? Can you milk my toes, Larry's? You can try. Yeah, but it makes me think who else. Like, I don't think it can't just be Allison, right? Too like that's even lower. I understand. Listen, sexual degenerates are everywhere. Okay, I just learned of a show called MILF Manor. Like, what the hell? If you haven't heard of that, I'm gonna tell you about this after we record because it's like the most degenerate thing I've ever heard of. But they're everywhere, and I understand it doesn't take much to get them off, and they'll do a lot for whatever they like.
Right.
But it can't just be for Allison's feet. Like, if you have a foot fetish, set your sights a little bit higher. Like, how about the feet of the entire small council? Maybe the king's feet. Like, expand, broaden your horizons a little bit. Like, what's Otto's look like? He's probably got some yellow-ass toenails under there.
Yeah, if it's a power thing, then he has to get Aegon to take his shoes off. And if he doesn't, then he's just a Coomer or something. And that's going to be very disappointing.
Do you think that'd be good enough? Like, if he got Aegon, like, tricked him into taking his shoes off so that, like, Larry's got a really good look at them, is that good enough? Or is it like he needs to convince Aegon to take them off for him to see? You know what I mean? Like, which one do you think he needs?
He needs the for him to see, because remember he was like, "Oh, Allison, do you know the rules? Like, if you want information, you got to give it to me." So it wasn't like and Aegon also has to know what Larry's is up to. He's basically the Louis C.K. of King's Landing.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, we get another shot of Corlys. We saw him in the other trailer, and I think it was the Team Black trailer. People complained about the wigs. I think this wig of Corlys looks like way worse than the season 1. I know Rhaena's wig looked like really weird in season 1 of House of the Dragon. I'd like to know, people comment down below, which wigs you didn't like, because I think really it was just Rhaena's, and if anything it was Rhaenys's wig I had issues with. But every single one we saw of Laena's, Baela, who else had wigs? Corlys's, Vaemon's. I guess Laenor's. One of the Laenors.
Yeah, Laenor had a wig.
Yeah.
Well, the older one and the younger one had a wig at one point, right?
But I don't know. I didn't have an issue with the wigs. The wigs weren't the thing that like jumped out to me like as bad. And now this one, Corlys's wig this time around looks a little sparse. It doesn't look as like
It looks thin is the problem.
Yeah, very thin.
It's pulled back. It almost looks like if you were to see it from behind, it has like he'd have like the middle of all of his hair back there shaved off, and it's just like the ones that would normally hang in front pulled to the back to cover up like a big bald spot. That's what it looks like. It's weird. But we only do see like 1 or 2 shots of him, so yeah, I don't know. There are a couple shots from season 1, though, where he looked absolutely amazing. Like around the Stepstone battle point in time, it just looked so thick and big. I totally agree. I never thought that the wigs were abrasive in season 1. I mean, I guess it's weird to see like young black girls with white hair. It's like something you just don't see in the real world, but I don't know. I mean, it's not that strange. The weirder part is when they do the whole white hair with like dark brown or black eyebrows and facial hair thing. That's weirder because you just know it's fake.
Yep, I totally agree. And the thing with Corlys too, it would make more sense if his hair was really full earlier on in season 1, and then later in season 1, like the mid jump we get, it thins a little bit, and then by the end of season 1, which maybe I should go back and watch, make sure that I'm not speaking out of my ass here, because I really don't want to do that. This is recorded and published on the internet.com. So I'd rather have, it'd be cool to see if Corlys' hair was thinning throughout the series, but I don't believe it was, from my recollection. And maybe in your rewatch, you should take note. Which also, real quick, I was going to say this earlier. If you're this far in, you're the true fans. That's first and foremost. Second, just as a heads up, we're planning on doing a season 1 rewatch of House of the Dragon the week before season 2 premieres. Either that's Sunday or Monday right beforehand. So I think it premieres on June 16th. And so either on June 9th or June 10th, we're going to do a live stream. So be in the chat, and we'll, you know what, we might eventually even just start doing like call-in streams, and people can jump on and we can all talk about it. So be on the lookout for that.
Whoever says the most inflammatory thing that breaks YouTube TOS, they win. They win. But okay, and then after that point too, we will probably, definitely for the duration of this season of House of the Dragon, we're going to do live streams every either Sunday or Monday after the episode airs. So yeah, look forward to it.
So the other thing I noticed with Corlys is, and we even get a shot of this, I think in the Entertainment Weekly released photos, is Alan of Hull. And for some reason, I don't like this choice, that Alan and Adam of Hull both don't have white hair. Why don't they have white hair? Just give them the white hair. Why is that so hard? Like, you made them black, which is not, I'm not like poo-pooing or like getting super upsetty spaghetti over that. And in this, Alan of Hull just has a shaved head, right? It's just like, come on. Just give me the white hair.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, well, just for anybody who doesn't know, he later goes by a name called Oakenfist, and I guess maybe that's too much personality for him. Oakenfist. What a ridiculously long name. Are you kidding me? First of all, yeah, I agree with you. He should just have white hair. Like, who did he have sex with where the genes are so strong that they got out the Targaryens? Yeah, it's just straight.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen, like, with Baratheon blood, Targaryens come out with white hair. And, as we all know, the seed is strong with those Baratheon boys. So, yeah, not sure why. Also, Oakenfist, let us know in the comments. Is Oakenfist a cringe name to give to yourself or to hear about yourself and then accept as your new moniker? It's a ridiculously long name. Oakenfist?
Too long.
What's it even mean?
Oakfist.
Yeah, Oakfist, if anything, right? Or the oak or the fist. Like, whatever. I mean, the shorter you go, the better.
So one thing you're saying about the hair, okay? Well, we know in the books, Rhaenys is supposed to have black hair because she's part Baratheon. The seed is strong.
Right.
It's supposed to dominate the Targaryen traits. And that's a huge plot point for then later on in a Game of Thrones series when Ned's going through it, like, oh, wow, look at these black hair Baratheons. Like, every single one a Baratheon comes into, their genes are just so dominant. For some reason, Roberts wasn't. I don't think so. So that I hate that they switched Rhaenys's hair to white just for normies. So like, wait, she's Targaryen, her hair to white. Oh, I get it. Makes sense. I hate that. That's one. And then second, Corlys cannot in the books. What were you gonna say?
Maybe they're creating a new little canon here. Maybe this is a reference to say that maybe the seed isn't that strong and Joffrey is truly a Baratheon.
Azor Ahai.
Yo. Oh, dude. Joffrey is Azor Ahai.
Joffrey's Azor Ahai. That video is coming out right after our Craster one. Don't worry about it, guys. Corlys, there's no way. In the books, it's like these Allen of Hulls, right? Because it's like they're either Laenors or Corlys's. You look at them, they're definitely Corlys's. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no way they're Laenors. Laenor is like way more lighter skin, which makes sense, because he's mixed with the white and black with his parents. Yep. These guys they look like spitting images of Corlys. And there's no way Corlys could go up to Rhaenys and be like, oh, no, these are probably Laenor's kids. They're not mine. It's like, dude, who are you fucking fooling here?
Oh, dude, listen, can you blame Corlys, man? I mean, dude, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I'd be getting sick of that. I bet whatever she keeps under there probably smells horrible after all these years, unless it's just straight up head. If she's actually got Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, if she's got the crystal skull underneath that head, man, probably weighs so much. I'd get sick of that. Down to Hull, you got some quality women down there.
Well, whatever. They got holes in Hull, so fill them, baby.
Whole holes.
So one thing that kind of bothers me that we see in, I think, every single one of these trailers is that there's like some sort of outburst in people attacking the Greens in King's Landing, right? If I'm somebody in King's Landing and the events have not really, there's not a big time lapse between end of season 1 or like, episode 9 of season 1 and the present moment within season 2, there's not like a whole lot of time that's, lapsed. I have to remember, or if I'm some person that has like an IQ above like 3, I should be able to remember that Rhaenys committed the biggest act of, I don't know what you want to say, manslaughter, genocide within King's Landing by escaping the Dragon's Pit. Why at any point would I be attacking the Greens, the royalty of this family? I'd probably be on their side. That's like such good green propaganda that Rhaenys did that. I don't know why there's some sort of outburst in the streets.
Oh, dude,
attacking the Greens.
How many disgusting, filthy family members in King's Landing can say like, oh yeah, like I knew someone that was killed on that day. Like never forget Rhaenys in the Dragon Pit, because how many people did she kill? Yeah, whatever team is against her is the team I'd be supporting as a resident of King's Landing, 100%. Unless they're just fed up again with the royalty in general, like the common folk rising up mentality. Not a huge fan of that, at least not yet. Dude, another thing about this trailer that just a little bit, dude, the White Worm. When they show Mysaria in this trailer, it just really seems, this isn't a spoiler, but they're implying a certain event that happens in this time, and they keep teasing it so heavily in these trailers, and I kind of feel like it's building it up too much. It involves the White Worm, it involves some other people, and I just feel like based on what we have so far in season 1 with the characters that it involves, there's like no time spent with these characters yet. And I just don't know, depending on how early it happens, if it's going to have any impact at all. So I guess my advice for this, dude, is people who are clearly seeing this build up, there's other ways to fight a war. and then pretend like I said it in a voice that's so stupid you can't even understand it, right?
Her voice sounds way better, I'll be honest, than it did.
It does sound way better. That's probably because they got some feedback. Like, tone it down. Like I watch shows with subtitles anyway, but if I did not, I'd be turning on subtitles for her lines only because it was like, what the fuck is that? But just don't get your hopes up for it. Like, they're building up for like a red wedding kind of thing. It's like, dude, no, just don't get your hopes up for whatever she's cooking.
I really don't know what normies are expecting. I hope they're not expecting anything, and they, just can just go with the ride, which way it takes you. Because I don't think people were expecting, the end of season 1 that Aemond was gonna, kill Luke there. But then again, like that's one thing I have a worry. I'm worried about is that a lot of things are going to be happening, and they're just miscommunications that trigger off big events versus people with agency going like, no, I want to do this. I'm going to have consequences for my actions now moving forward versus, oh, I didn't mean to. Vhagar was just one grumpy gilf that wanted to, take out Luke for whatever reason. And also, I want to maybe do a video why Luke is the reason why, like, the Civil War began, or, like, Luke's the villain. Because I think if he took out his eye, we could have prevented a lot of these deaths in the Civil War.
I was going to say maybe if he just, like, reacted a little bit stronger to Aemon's eye. Like, maybe, Aemon's an aggressive guy. He's self-conscious, not great self-confidence. Like, maybe, he whips out that eye. He was clearly looking for a reaction, and Luke really didn't give him anything to work with. He could have been like, holy shit, dude, that is awesome. Are you kidding me? Oh, I'm so sorry I cut out your eye, but, man, you really are, you're making it work, man. You're making it work. I bet Aemond would have been totally okay with that. Like, how many misunderstandings do you think we're going to see here? Like, Aemond exposing his eye, not getting the reaction he wants, and then he murders people that are important to the story. I'm guessing at least a handful, right? 30, 40?
My guess? Countless.
Countless.
Yeah. Can't put a number on it.
Good guess.
You know what? If it was one of our friends, his guess would always be at least one. And I'm like, dude, holy shit.
Shut
why do I spend
Go to hell,
any
Morpheus.
Time? Yeah, why do I spend any time with you, Morpheus?
I just saw that picture on my phone the other day because of memory. I was like, it's so funny. Anyway,
something you were saying earlier with the White Worm reminded me, with this whole, the conflict bursting out in the streets attacking the Greens. I'm thinking maybe the White Worm is behind that, trying to like stir up some civil unrest within King's Landing. Because otherwise, I don't know why people would be attacking the Greens based off of Rhaenys's actions. It just doesn't make sense to me. So, just low information people, the White Worm's able to stir up at Flea Bottom to, start attacking the Greens for like no apparent reason. That's my theory, because otherwise I don't know what the hell's going on.
See, this is what I'm talking about, kind of, when it's like you assume the White Worm is like going to create this huge incident or stirring like public unrest, like you said, that's going to justify these kind of attacks. But unless they add something crazy, it just doesn't really happen. And I guess like the events that we see, it's hard to say this without spoiling it, but it's almost like the events that we know about that the White Worm instigates, you would almost seem like the reverse would happen then. Like the townsfolk would be sympathetic for Team Green. Well, but it's like, unless they're just pile-ons, but that's really, I don't know. We're going to see. We have to see. It's as of now, little confused boy.
Let's wait for the spoiler section. We can just go into a little more detail here. But one thing, not non-spoilers, last things I got to say for non-spoilers, love the Lannister armor. The helmets look a lot better than they did in Game of Thrones. I hated the helmets from Game of Thrones. They looked so weird. They looked unique, I'll say that, but I like the drip of the Lannisters. We value drip a lot. That's probably why we sim for Lannisters so much. There's a young Targaryen girl at like a minute 54 in this trailer. I don't know who this is.
Yeah, I know exactly. I know who you're talking about. That's the Tim Allen's neighbor in Home Improvement, right? Hey, neighbor.
Is that Wilson? Is that his name?
Yeah, Wilson. Right, exactly. It's Hey Neighbor. I don't know who this is either. I have no idea. Yeah, Heidi Ho, neighbor. I don't know. This is a mystery Targaryen. I'm trying to think in Fire and Blood who we have. Like, we have some of the old kings, Jaehaerys's sons and daughters, or not sons. Well, no, yeah, one of his sons is still alive. At least his sons and daughters are still alive, and then their children. But we don't have any hint of them in House of the Dragon Season 1. I think they're supposed to be completely out of sight, out of mind. I have no idea who this is.
Yeah, I think the only Targaryen left from his, of his sons and daughters is the Maester. And I don't know if he's even alive at this point. I'm trying to remember.
Well, no, that's his son, but he has a couple daughters.
Well,
or did you say that?
Well, the one, like Sarah, right? She's over in Essos. Yeah, whatever. She's over in Essos, I think.
Getting plugged, man.
Oh yeah, she's filled to the brim. This one we see in the trailer, I have no idea who she is. What would you think if there's somehow a flashback and we're going to the origins of how King V and Emma fell in love, to even more sympathy for Team Black probably in this whole thing. Otherwise, I have no idea why we're going back, because I've heard rumors, and this is just rumors, nothing confirmed here. I haven't seen like an official source, but I've heard rumblings that we're going to be getting even young Rhaenyra scenes. I'm like, I don't need that. I don't feel like I need that, but if it improves the story, I'm for it. But just inherently, or
why would we flash back to it? This is another one of those things where it's like if we're going to get young Rhaenyra scenes, that's just evidence to me that they should have extended season 1's content into more episodes or more seasons. Like, give us the episodes chronologically.
Right.
It's weird. The back and forth is strange because, like, Allison's casting, I think, between Olivia Cook and whatever that younger girl's name is, right? That's really good. Like, if they went back and forth with that, I'd be like, oh, yeah, there's Allison and there's Allison. But the Rhaenyra one, like, it's okay, the younger and older casting, but if you went back and forth, man, they don't look that much alike.
Right. No, they don't.
And it'd be abrasive. I hope they don't do that. Plus, their voices couldn't be more different.
You sure?
Yeah, you know what? I guess maybe they could be a little more different. True.
Yeah. All right, let's go into spoilers here. Okay, so spoiler warning not only for the book but then for the show too, because there's book spoilers that if you know the spoilers, you might be spoiled for the show because they're changing some things. So last warning, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. All right, so
how'd you do that? So spoilers, let's just go briefly into the whole white worm thing we were talking about. Yeah, so this is the blood and cheese, right? This is the blood and cheese. Good job, cheese. I thought you go. Can we go see the wall Winterfell with White Walkers? I don't understand what they're building up to there. It's a pretty quick event, like relatively speaking. If they draw that whole night out where, blood and cheese murder Aegon and Helena's son, it's going to be ridiculous because it's not that big of a deal. It's a huge deal as in terms of an event and the conflict, but it's not that big of a deal. And we've not spent any time with their kids because I don't even think they have the kids yet, right? Or do they?
Who are you talking about? Aegon's kids?
Aegon and,
Yeah, they have the kids. They at least have the twins right now.
In House of the Dragon season 1?
Yeah, we see him first.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
We don't see. Was it Maelor? Is the last one, right? We don't see
Maelor's
him.
The youngest.
We don't see Maelor, but we see the twins, right? We definitely see them in episode 9. That's when we get a lot of
Harris and whoever.
shots.
But yeah. So it's like we don't have any connection to these people whatsoever. If they think that they're going to get shock value of just like blood and cheese killing a little kid, and it's probably not going to be very explicitly shown either, by the way. It's going to show like the start of it, and then it's going to cut to Helena's like blood-curdling reaction or something. It's like, no, it's not going to get us. It's not going to get us. I don't know what they're building up to.
I feel like we're going to get shots of Jaehaerys just being like this awesome little boy, and like, oh, you're just so smart and cute, and like, oh, you have such a good sense of humor, and then everyone's gonna kind of be like, dude, I guess Team Green is like actually kind of cool. At least this kid, if Aegon dies, then this kid would be pretty. Oh no, like that's. I'm hoping we get. You know what? If they screw this up, that will be the biggest indication of where the rest of the season is gonna go. If they're not able to pull this off, because it is. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not saying it's easy. But you got to be able to pull this scene off.
How could they not, though, at the same time? Because we know what show this is, and by doing this makes Team Black look worse. So, of course, they're going to do it aggressively and with emphasis.
So, yeah, the White Worm's going to be involved with this in some way, even though, like, we see a shot of Daemon. And again, spoilers, right? We are in the spoiler section. Daemon doesn't come back to King's Landing until probably after this season, because we're probably going to get to Battle of the Gullet. I don't think we can get that far. I think that's going to be a season 3 thing. So we're not even going to see Rhaenyra get into King's Landing this season. It's all just going to be, Rook's Rest and then kind of like the aftermath of that, I believe. So I don't think Daemon is going to be there, even though we get that shot of it. So I think unless he is somehow actually within that, wouldn't that be kind of weird too? That Daemon's there,
that's
showing
not right.
them around. Like I don't know. It might just be a dream sequence. Anyways, but. The White Worm, definitely involved with it. And yeah, she might be stirring up stuff, but it doesn't make any sense if the funeral is blood and cheese and somehow the townspeople are attacking the Greens after their baby boy, the heir, the prince, is killed. That makes no sense. It's kind of like things aren't adding up, but that'll be another indication that the series is kind of going south, that like the logical consistency is kind of breaking down. within the small folk.
Yeah, whether they're just like doing moves that they want. Like the showrunner's just like, well, we want these people to be mad right now, and it's like, well, did you build up a story to make it make sense? Like, no. It's like, yeah. So it's true. I don't think that it makes sense to do that unless it's like if they're so hateful toward Team Black,
right?
If they're so hateful toward if they're so hateful toward Team Green that Team Black attacks them and kills Jaehaerys or whatever, and they can somehow forget about the genocide that Rhaenys unleashed in the Dragon Pit, and they decide like, okay, yeah, now they're weakened because they lost one of their kids. Like, let's pile on, let's get them while they're weak. I guess maybe that, but like, why? Why would? It just doesn't make sense. Well, yeah, right. Like that's exactly what I mean. That's the only way I could see it somewhat making sense, and that just seems like the small folk seem like even shittier than they are, and they are shitty.
Listen, there's a big theme in this. It'll be in this series, but it's in the books throughout. Fire and Blood, and also Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire series that George R. R. Martin writes. It's the class struggle kind of the small folk versus the people ruling, the ruling class versus the small folk, right? And in here, we're going to get that definitely. But if they're going to act like this, the small folk is going to like start beating up the leaders based off of these actions that have occurred on them and like occurred on Team Green as well as on the small folk as well from Team Black. They kind of deserve to be shat on, right? Like I don't have sympathy for the small folk anymore because you really do get like a feel for the small folk in Fire and Blood. Like, damn, like I'm trying to remember the town that just gets demolished twice and it's like not recoverable. It happens on later on in the war. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Yeah, but no, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they basically salted the earth there. It's shit now, even though it used to be like a kind of prosperous area. So like that impact.
Yeah, it can't recover.
Yeah, that impact I want to see, but. I have no sympathy for the small folk if they're going to act like this.
Especially not the ones at King's Landing either. It's like, dude, come on. That is like super cringe. Like, appreciate the people that are going to be defending you from the evil, the Wicked Witch of the West and the North, or where are they? No, Wicked Witch of the East and the North. That's what they'd be. But, okay, so besides that, spoiler, the Nettles thing. Let's address the Nettles thing. This is probably the last thing.
So we knew, real quick, we heard that there wasn't going to be Nettles or Daron this season. That was a big thing. Like, oh, yeah, we're not going to see him until season 3. That was a report. We saw that months ago, right? And we even did a video on that, like, oh, they're not even going to put him in. So that was like the big thing we saw.
Well, Nettles, we all know. So if anybody doesn't know, I mean, I guess you do if you're watching the spoiler part, but if you don't know, Nettles is one of these dragon seeds that ends up getting a dragon, specifically Sheep Stealer, and she ends up having like a very significant relationship with Daemon, and it's an ambiguous one, whether or not it's like sexual or romantic or just a father-daughter type relationship, and the ambiguity of it makes it interesting, and it like plays a big part in like Rhaenyra and Daemon's like further separation, like the breakdown of their relationship later in the war, while Rhaenyra is just fat as fuck sitting on the Iron Throne, and Daemon's out getting work done, you know what I mean, like taking Aemon to Pound School and whatnot. But I guess the show's answering for us what kind of relationship it is, because they're just replacing Nettles, it seems, with Rhaena, Daemon's daughter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and unless they're going to make that relationship sexual, which is just like the nail in the coffin of making Daemon like the most villainous villain in like the Song of Ice and Fire shows, maybe next to Ramsay. You know what I mean? Like that's
right.
They're not going to do that.
No.
So it's just ridiculous. Like it's a good relationship from the story that's made poor, and we know this is what's going to happen because Rhaena is getting Sheep Stealer, and unless they're having Nettles with like some random other unnamed dragon, I don't think it's going to happen. Plus, with the whole Nettles like prolonging that we already knew about before this, it's very clear, I think, that they're just not going to have her.
Well, it makes no sense either because in the book we get Nettles, or like after the events. I think when Nettles goes off, I think she's crying, and I think that's the last time we see her. She flies off with her dragon, right, from someplace her and Daemon were staying, and then Daemon goes off and does the battle of the God's Eye. She's
spotted by a couple people. I can't remember what that island is. It's like the island where the original Green Seers, the Children of the Forest, supposedly lived or something.
Isle of Faces.
Yeah, I think they like see her out there. But somebody spots her at some point. Anyway, yeah, whatever.
But she's not seen anymore in the books. Like she's presumed like missing forever. Then at that point, right? We don't see her anymore.
And no significant people see her, right?
And we don't see the death of Sheep Stealer. What's going to happen? Because Rhaena in the books does go on and marry. I think she's the one that goes on and marries a Hightower eventually. She has like a couple marriages, I think at least 2 maybe. And I like the dynamic they had between Bela and Rhaena. They're the dragon twins, they're called. And one of them's the tomboy, Bela, and then Rhaena was like the more Sansa-esque character that, would rather be in the castle, or maybe rather be. We don't get a lot of like character depictions of these characters, other than like one is more of the dragon rider and the other one's not, because she couldn't ever get a dragon. But now you're going to make her Nettles, who Nettles is basically a tomboy, kind of. She's a salt of the earth person who's been like feeding a dragon sheeps this whole time, or at least enough for her to get close and then actually, mount the dragon. And she has no Targaryen-like features. She has dark skin and black hair. And now they're going to make Nettles Daemon's daughter, who has white hair and keeps the skin dark. But you could have had the only like really original black character, or, person of color.
I know, and now it's different.
Then they just have to like, combined her with another one, which then makes me think, because a lot of people say, no, this is the definitive version of Fire and Blood. This is the real events that occurred after, when they cut storylines and they combine characters, then you say, no, it's no longer the definitive version anymore. It's no longer that. It's just a alternative version that we get, just like how people want to say it's the Maester's interpretation of events that happen in Fire and Blood, So I'm just frustrated by that whole situation. I hate when they cut storylines, combine characters. I understand they're doing it for maybe budgeted reasons, but I think it's really they just want to give a character more to do, because Rhaena in the books just goes off to, I think, the Vale. It sits there the whole time. I don't know. I'm frustrated by this. And I hope this doesn't mean anything for Daeron in the future, like what they're going to do with him.
Yeah, she's just supposed to sit in the Vale for, I think, most of the Dance of Dragons. It's not even until after that where she starts getting more involved with things. So I'd love to see the motivation for this, because like you said, dude, Nettles, well, I don't know if she said this or not, but Nettles and Rhaena are not the same character at all. Like, they're not similar. Like, it makes sense if there's two different characters. Like it is in Game of Thrones a lot. They combined characters that kind of fit the same archetypes, or there'd be like a character that really didn't serve like a really good independent purpose, and so they just kind of combine them with another character. Like I said, there was the same archetype. Like Jorah combined with some other with a couple of different people, right? Like that's an example. But this is just completely weird. I guess the only explanation I can think of is that they don't plan on making content beyond the Dance of Dragons, live action content, and for some reason they can't bear to think that every single one of these kids isn't going to be like accounted for in some way, like in a significant way in the story. So it's like, no, like no one cares. No one's going to mind if one of these twins, or if one of these kids ends up just kind of fucking off and doing their own thing. Like, who cares? Who cares? Yeah. Like, that's like saying about like Rickon, right? Like, Rickon didn't do anything in Game of Thrones, and that was not anybody's chief complaint. Like, no one cared about, like, could we please have Rickon do something? It was like, how about we have Bran do something first? Yeah, and then we'll talk about Rickon. But that's not the case here, and we're going to see Bela. We're going to see Bela do stuff. So who cares about Rhaena? Let her do her own thing.
Yeah, and Bela she does stuff later on in the books, right? So like Endgame type stuff, she's way more involved than she is. What we see potentially is going to be in this next season of House of the Dragon, where she's going to be in some combat or like kind of risky areas. So I don't mind that much, even though I would rather her just a book purist here. I'd rather just be just like how the books. I'd have really no issues with the books, but that is like more of her character just expanded versus combining her with a character and just kind of totally flipping her on her head, So I really want Daeron, and this just does not give me confidence that they're going to do this, and that they're just kind of like trying to shoehorn in good plot lines for someone. Because I don't even know, if you do Daeron, who'd you combine him with to make a compelling character? Like one of the.
I have no idea.
There's no way. There's no. Because I love the part with Hugh Hammer. We see Hugh Hammer in the trailer, but I love Hugh Hammer. He's like a cool aspect of it. But if like Hugh Hammer doesn't rebel, like I don't know what they even do. I don't know. That's where it has me worried about this series. I don't know what do you think? Are you worried at all? Is this giving you pause?
Yeah, I mean, I am worried, I guess, but in the end, this is where I am grateful that Game of Thrones came out and they fucked their ending so bad. I'm glad they did somewhat, because as opposed to that being the end of the content-wise, you know what I mean? And like I'd be married to the show at that point if they really did it well. I'd be like married, like, okay, this is the thing, and like it was so good, it's gonna be so hard for the book to live up to it, and then the book doesn't live up to it or whatever. Then now I'm kind of left in limbo of like, all right, there was no good content. But as of right now, because the show was so bad, I can kind of disengage with the entire live action sphere of this content if I need to. You know, like if it ends up being bad enough or like unsatisfactory enough, I can always just say, oh yeah, dude, like the book is like my canon, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. I mean, I'm worried about the show a little bit,
Yeah.
but in the end, it's just not that important to me in the grand scheme of like Song of Ice and Fire. So it's yeah, dude, I'm kind of concerned. I have feet, Larry's. Can you milk my toes?
That's okay. I don't know if the milk the toes is gonna work, but that's
Raina's getting upset.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and smash that like button.
Or not. We don't care.